Yo, what is up and happy Halloween. Welcome back to No Huddle Fantasy Sports in the Week 9 NFL Notable Matchups video. We are just a couple hours away from some Thursday Night Football and the start of NFL Week 9, but with that in mind, we are going to take a quick glance at this week's landscape and determine and pull out the top 5 positional matchups. So if you're looking for which players and teams are facing the weakest defenses, I've got you covered. Whether you play season long or DFS, expect this video to help you get prepared to dominate Week 9 NFL. Hey, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to No Huddle Fantasy Sports and the Week 9 Notable Matchups video. I do appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel and click on this video. If you're new here or simply haven't checked out any of the previous videos, the mission here is pretty simple each week. We are just taking a look at defense versus position data, specifically the top 5 defenses that are the weakest split out by position. Basically, which defenses are giving up the most amount of points, and then we're going to pull out which teams and which players are up against those defenses. So whether you play season long or DFS, this information is great. It should be beneficial and helpful for you when you set your lineups. And hey, I do got to mention, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button down below. Give this video a like if it does help you, if you get some benefit out of it. Doing both those simple things is the easiest way you can help support this channel, No Huddle Fantasy Sports. But more importantly, subscribing to this channel is the only way you'll be able to participate in the giveaway. Yes, I do have an upcoming giveaway. I mentioned as soon as we broke 100 subscribers here on No Huddle Fantasy Sports, I would be putting together some sort of fantasy football related giveaway, and we did just that. As of this video, I have, I believe, 104 subscribers to the channel, which is just absolutely amazing. I'm so thankful. I'm so appreciative of you guys and where this channel has come in such a short amount of time. And I hope you guys understand this is my way of saying thank you and trying to give back to you guys. So what we're basically going to do is give away a free entry into the DraftKings Millionaire Maker for NFL Week 9. It's worth $20. The entry fee is $20 into that contest on DraftKings. And what this is allowing me and you to do is you guys are controlling how much money you potentially could win through the giveaway, meaning there's no real limit. You could win $20, you could win 40, you could win thousands or potentially even $1 million through this contest. So the rules are pretty simple. All I need you to do is make sure you are subscribed to this channel, No Huddle Fantasy Sports, and in this particular video, the Week 9 matchups video, leave a comment down below of your top 3 plays for Week 9. Keep in mind the deadline to enter this contest is Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. After 1 o'clock, I will then go through the comments and randomly, I'll use one of those generators. I will select a comment, contact that user, and we will move forward with entering that Week 9 DraftKings Millionaire Maker contest. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to actually give away $20 on DraftKings with a gift card or anything like that. So what will happen when I contact you, you will submit to me the lineup, I will screenshot it, we'll enter it together, and we'll go from there. Using essentially my account, my money, we will enter that Millionaire Maker with your lineup, and the sky's the limit for you and how much money could be won. And again, whether you're just a season-long player and maybe don't have DraftKings or don't play DFS, it doesn't matter. This contest still applies to you. We can work together to put together a lineup and enter it into DraftKings. We will figure it out. Either way, you can win some money just by subscribing and leaving a comment down below. And so I hope the way I designed this contest is a little bit unique. It's not a typical cash giveaway or what typical DFS fantasy football YouTube accounts on YouTube do as giveaways. Just trying to be a little bit different here, make it a little bit more fun. But most importantly, I want to give back to you guys, and I want to make sure you guys know that I appreciate you taking the time to watch the videos and subscribe to the channel. I am so thankful for that support. All right, so that's enough with the giveaway talk. Let's just jump into the meat of this video, why you're really here, because who wants to really win $1 million? You want to talk about matchups for Week 9. So let's look quickly back. We take notes from Week 8, looking at how defenses performed. The first one I'll mention here is Seattle. They gave up an astounding 460 yards on the road to Matt Schaub in Atlanta. Just not a very good week for the Seattle secondary and their defense. Tampa Bay continues to get gouged through the air by quarterbacks and wide receivers. Over the last 3 weeks, they've given up an average of 245 passing yards per game and 3 touchdowns per game. But what sticks out the most here is they haven't really played any sort of elite quarterback, a lot of backups over the last 3 weeks. So just not good for Tampa Bay. Carolina's defense gave up 232 rushing yards in Week 8, over 6 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Just got absolutely buried by the San Francisco running game. So Carolina's defense looking pretty weak versus the run right now. Buffalo and Chicago, I just wanted to mention, if you watched over the last couple of weeks, they're good defenses still, but they're really getting hindered by their own offenses, just not putting them in good spots. So maybe not the best defenses to roster in season long and DFS right now. And then New England, the number one defense by far, a historically good defense. They're just remarkable. I didn't think they could score another touchdown again last week, and they did just that. With 3 turnovers, they dominated Cleveland, and again, they scored another touchdown. So some key notes from Week 8 that we can carry forward with us. Moving on to the quarterback position, your top 5 defensive matchups for Week 9 include Arizona, Oakland, Miami, Houston, and Detroit. Arizona is currently the weakest defense versus quarterbacks in 2019. They're giving up over 25 points on DraftKings and over 23 points on FanDuel. They play tonight. They play San Francisco and Jimmy Garoppolo. Following them with Oakland, so you have Matt Stafford lining up against them this week in a good matchup. Miami, Sam Darnold is in a good spot. Houston, Gardner Minshew, and Jacksonville in a good spot against Houston. And then to round out the top 5, we have Detroit as the 5th weakest defense versus quarterbacks, and Derek Carr in Oakland faces them. For running backs, those defenses that are giving up the most points per game to the running back position in both PPR and half-point PPR, you're talking about Detroit at number 1, followed by Miami, Kansas City, Washington, and the New York Jets. Detroit is currently giving up over 32 points on DraftKings PPR sites and over 28 on FanDuel half PPR. Josh Jacobs for Oakland is in a great spot against Detroit this week. Miami facing off, I already talked about Darnold. Well, Le'Veon Bell is equally in a good spot against the 2nd weakest run defense in the NFL currently based on fantasy points per game. Kansas City, Dalvin Cook, he's in a great spot, or he's a great play every week, but he lines up in a great top 5 matchup this week. Washington, depending on if it's Gore or Singletary, right now seems like Gore gets the majority of the carries, but the Buffalo running game against Washington, again, in a great spot, top 5 matchup. And to round it out here, the New York Jets face off against Miami. I already talked about Bell. Well, on the flip side, it's looking like Walton is the starting running back for Miami this week. They face off again against the Jets, who are a top 5 defensive matchup for the running back position, giving up over 28 points on DraftKings and 23 plus on FanDuel. For the wide receiver position, we have a little bit of a shakeup here. Typically, we've seen Philadelphia as the easiest matchup for wide receivers, but just this past week, that honorable spot of number 1 got overtaken by Houston, if you're talking PPR. On DraftKings, Houston's giving up over 43 points per game. On FanDuel, which is half PPR, they're giving up over 36 points per game. So you're talking about them going up against Jacksonville this week. And Minshew, I already talked about him, and he's in a good spot. Well, it just so happens his wide receivers are too. So whether you're playing Chark or Westbrook, the Jacksonville receivers are in on paper, the best matchup in PPR for wide receivers. Philadelphia still on this list at number 2, facing off against a weaker wide receiver core in Chicago, but Allen Robinson lines up in a great spot, followed by Gabriel and Miller. The New York Giants shape up as number 3 here, giving up over 42 on DraftKings, over 35 on FanDuel. They play in a primetime game against the Dallas Cowboys, so you got to love Cooper, you got to love Gallup, and of course anyone else such as Cobb is in a great spot for Dallas up against New York Giants. I talked about Tampa Bay and their defense early on. However, the last 3 weeks they're giving up a ton of yards to the air. And well, that of course means they are very weak against the wide receiver position and look to be a top 5 matchup for wide receivers, specifically Seattle this week. The likes of Lockett and Metcalf are in a great spot against Tampa Bay. And finally here, rounding out the top 5, we have Oakland's defense up against Detroit. They are giving up over 40 points on DraftKings PPR and over 33, nearly 34 points on FanDuel for anyone that's involved in half point per reception. So the likes of Golladay, who just had a monster game, and Jones Jr., who 2 weeks ago had a monster game, one of the best games probably I've ever seen, are in great spots up against the Oakland weak secondary and defense. Finally here, we're talking about tight ends. Your top 5 weakest defenses, those defenses giving up the most amount of points to the tight end position: Arizona, who plays tonight, Tampa Bay, Oakland, Seattle, and Dallas. Arizona tops this list week in and week out. You can stream almost any tight end against them, whether they're good or great. But tonight against George Kittle, he should have a field day against this Arizona defense, who's giving up nearly 22 points on DraftKings and over 18 points on FanDuel. George Kittle and San Francisco tight ends are in a great spot. Tampa Bay, number 2 here, facing off against Seattle. So you're looking at Wilson, who is kind of their backup tight end that's now thrust into the starting spot. But he's in a great spot against a very weak Tampa Bay defense that simply cannot stop the tight ends or really anyone through the air. Oakland is number 3 here. Again, we've mentioned them several times with quarterbacks and wide receivers. Would just like them, the tight end position in Hawkinson for Detroit is in a good spot. Seattle, on the flip side of that Tampa Bay game, Tampa Bay's tight end, Howard, who I don't think he's practicing right now, but regardless, he's in a great spot against Seattle, who continues to be a top 5 matchup, good matchup for the tight end position. And finally here we have Dallas against the New York Giants and Ingram on a primetime game, giving up over 15 points on DraftKings and nearly 12 points on FanDuel. Ingram is in a great spot almost every week because of his skill set, but lines up in a top 5 matchup this week against Dallas. And so as quickly as we could there, we covered the top 5 defense versus position matchups for week 5. We covered each position. You can see here quickly the top 5 matchups for week 9. I think it's a misprint here. It should say week 9, not week 8. Sorry for not updating that. But the guys are correct here. Keep in mind, some of these guys, if you're playing DFS, are on primetime games, so they wouldn't be available on the main slate. But for anyone playing season long, I hope this helps you determine which players are in the best spots and how to best construct your lineups. Of course, if you haven't checked out any of our prior videos, each week now I release basically all of the matchup data. It was by request. A lot of you guys wanted to see not only the top 5 best matchups, but all 32 teams ranked. So each week I update this list. It is provided in a link down below. It's similar to Google Docs. You just simply click it. It's free. It's ad-free. You don't have to type anything in. Just download the sheets. There is a sheet for each position. So quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Updated again weekly to reflect which teams, which defenses are giving up the most amount of points in both FanDuel, which is half-point PPR, and DraftKings, which is full PPR. So it should be beneficial to whether you play season-long or DFS. And so that wraps up the Week 9 NFL matchup video. I hope you guys find some use from this, and I hope you continue to dominate and put together the best lineups you can based upon this research. I mentioned, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I am doing that giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment down below of your top 3 plays for Week 9. I will randomize it, and I will select somebody on Saturday, and together we will enter the NFL Week 9 DraftKings Millionaire Maker and basically see how much money we can put together. It's all yours. It's your entry. Just make sure you follow the steps, subscribe, and comment down below. I thank you guys for paying attention, sticking with me till the end, and I will see you in the next video.